Johnny Carson was more than just a late-night host. He was an icon, the man who defined American television for 3 decades. But behind the curtain of The Tonight Show, he was also a deeply private man who guarded his family from the spotlight. Over the years, rumors swirled about his relationships, especially with his children, and many of those whispers were left unanswered. Now, decades after Carson's passing, his daughter has finally broken her silence, and what she confirms about those long-standing rumors is both surprising and emotional. Being Johnny Carson's daughter was never an easy experience. While millions of Americans tuned in night after night to watch him deliver sharp monologues, witty interviews, and unforgettable comedy bits, his children lived a different reality, one where their father was often more of a public figure than a private presence. Carson's 3 sons, Chris, Corey, and Richard, and his daughter, whose identity he shielded with fierce privacy for much of their lives, grew up in an environment where the line between fame and family was always blurred. For the public, Carson was untouchable, the king of late night. At home, however, he was complicated, at times loving, at times distant, and often consumed by the pressures of sustaining his career. In interviews over the years, Carson admitted that his family life suffered because of his work. He was rarely home, and when he was, the weight of his success and the isolation it brought sometimes created distance. His children, particularly his daughter, learned to live in the shadow of a father adored by millions but hard to reach personally. This contrast between public adoration and private distance fed the rumor mill, with speculation ranging from estrangement to hidden family conflicts. The rumors intensified when Carson endured multiple divorces, each one splashed across the tabloids. His children were dragged into narratives they never asked to be part of, and his daughter, in particular, faced speculation about whether she even had a meaningful relationship with him. For decades, she remained silent, never confirming or denying the stories. But friends close to the Carson family would later reveal that silence wasn't avoidance, it was protection. She wanted to preserve her father's image, knowing how much he meant to the American people. Still, the whispers grew. Some claimed Johnny Carson's daughter resented him for his absence. Others suggested she felt overshadowed by the legacy he left behind. There were even rumors of estrangement, fueled by Carson's infamous reputation for being emotionally guarded. What was true and what was merely Hollywood gossip? For years, nobody really knew. Now, decades later, with Carson long gone, his daughter has finally addressed the speculation. She revealed the truth wasn't as scandalous as people imagined, but it was far more human. Their relationship, she confirmed, was complicated. There were times of distance and silence, but also moments of genuine love and deep connection. Unlike the black and white narratives painted by tabloids, theirs was a story of nuance, shaped by the realities of fame, family, and the limits of human connection. By breaking her silence, Carson's daughter finally gives the public a glimpse into the man behind the legend, not the polished host who could make the nation laugh, but the father who, despite flaws and distance, left a lasting imprint on his children's lives. And in doing so, she confirms a truth that had long been whispered about in Hollywood circles. Johnny Carson, for all his fame and success, struggled to balance the demands of his career with the role of being a father. For decades, Hollywood insiders and fans alike speculated about Johnny Carson's private life. While he was on television 5 nights a week, laughing and joking with the biggest stars in the world, very little was ever known about his family. That silence became fertile ground for gossip. And one rumor in particular never seemed to fade. The idea that Carson's daughter was estranged from him, perhaps even disowned, and that their relationship was one of bitterness rather than love. The whispers began in the late 1970s, during the height of Carson's success. At that point, he was untouchable on NBC, pulling in millions of viewers each night. Yet stories in the press hinted at personal troubles, failed marriages, constant work commitments, and an aloofness that extended beyond his on-screen persona. When reporters dug deeper, they noticed that his daughter was rarely, if ever, seen in public with him. Unlike some celebrities who proudly paraded their families at events, Carson kept his daughter completely out of the spotlight. That absence, people argued, had to mean something. By the 1980s, the rumor had taken on a life of its own. Tabloid headlines asked questions like, "Is Carson's daughter the family secret he can't face?" Or estranged or protected? The mystery of Johnny's private life. With each story, the speculation grew. Was there a falling out? Did Carson, known for his cold and sometimes cutting demeanor, simply push her away? Or had she chosen to cut ties with him, unable to reconcile her private life with his fame? Adding fuel to the fire were Carson's own interviews, where he admitted that he struggled with intimacy. In one rare, candid moment, he confessed that he wasn't the warmest father. "I was good at my job," he said, "but not always good at being there." Those words gave gossip columnists all the ammunition they needed. They connected dots without evidence, assuming his daughter must have been a casualty of his success. Behind the scenes, however, the truth was much more nuanced. Carson's daughter did keep her distance from Hollywood, but not because of estrangement. It was because she valued her privacy. Growing up in the shadow of one of the most famous men in America meant constant attention, whether wanted or not. By choosing to live quietly, away from cameras and microphones, she was protecting her own identity. Unfortunately, that choice was misinterpreted by the public as rejection. The rumor persisted even after Carson retired from The Tonight Show in 1992. Without nightly television appearances, he became even more reclusive, fueling the idea that he was hiding something. When Carson passed away in 2005, the speculation reached its peak. Some wondered whether his daughter would even attend his funeral, with tabloids spinning sensational headlines about family feuds. But now, years later, his daughter has confirmed the truth. Yes, their relationship had struggles, but the story of estrangement was largely exaggerated. She admitted there were times when her father's fame and personality created distance. He could be demanding, hard to reach emotionally, and fiercely independent. Yet despite all that, they never completely severed ties. They spoke, they reconnected at points, and she always carried love for him, even when their bond was strained. What she confirmed, more than anything, was that the rumor had gotten it wrong. It wasn't a story of hatred or disownment. It was a story of a father and daughter navigating the complicated dynamics of fame and family. By finally speaking out, she put to rest one of Hollywood's most enduring whispers, offering a more human, more forgiving version of events. The irony is that the truth was far less scandalous than the public wanted it to be. Carson's daughter didn't reveal explosive fights or shocking secrets. Instead, she revealed something far more relatable: the pain of distance, the challenges of connection, and the enduring pull of family love, even when imperfect. For most people, Johnny Carson was a household name, the charming face who brought laughter into their living rooms at the end of a long day. But for his daughter, life with the king of late night was far more complicated. Growing up in the shadow of such a powerful figure came with unique challenges, ones she carried quietly for decades before finally breaking her silence. From an early age, she understood that her father wasn't like other dads. While most children saw their fathers at the dinner table or on weekends, she often saw Johnny through a television screen, his sharp wit captivating millions. The applause, the fame, the endless parade of celebrity guests, it all created a distance between his world and hers. At school, classmates would whisper about her last name, expecting her to share stories about Hollywood parties or behind-the-scenes gossip. In reality, she often felt like an outsider to that glamorous world. Her father's absences were particularly hard. Night after night, while the rest of the country tuned into The Tonight Show, she and her brothers were left with the reality that their dad's attention was devoted elsewhere. Carson's grueling schedule, combined with his perfectionist streak, meant that his family often had to take a back seat. It wasn't that he didn't care, she later admitted, but his life was consumed by that show. And when it wasn't the show, it was the pressure of being Johnny Carson. As she grew older, the gap widened. Unlike some celebrity children who leaned into fame, she wanted nothing to do with it. For her, privacy became a shield. She didn't appear at red carpet events, avoided interviews, and lived outside of Hollywood's orbit. This choice, while protective for her own sense of identity, became the root of many rumors. Some assumed the distance was due to resentment. Others claimed Carson himself rejected her. In truth, it was a conscious decision to live a normal life, something difficult to do when your father was the most recognizable man in America. Yet, despite the physical and emotional distance, she still had meaningful memories of her father. She spoke about moments of warmth, like when Carson would retreat to his Malibu home and simply sit with his children, away from the cameras and the pressures of fame. Those glimpses of Johnny, not the host but the dad, stayed with her. They were rare but precious, reminders that beneath the sharp wit and guarded exterior, he did care deeply for his family, even if he struggled to express it. The hardest part for her was the public perception. Whenever tabloids suggested estrangement or hostility, she felt trapped. If she spoke out, she risked feeding the media machine. If she stayed silent, the rumors grew louder. For years, she chose silence, prioritizing her privacy over speculation. It was only after her father's death that she began to understand the weight of those unspoken words. The rumors painted a picture of her father that wasn't entirely fair, and by staying quiet, she allowed that picture to dominate. Breaking her silence wasn't easy, but it was necessary. She wanted the world to know that while Johnny Carson was not a perfect father, far from it, he wasn't the cold, disconnected man the tabloids described either. Their relationship had ups and downs, moments of closeness and long stretches of distance, but there was always an underlying current of love. For her, confirming this truth wasn't about protecting his legacy. It was about reclaiming her own story, ensuring that her voice was finally part of the narrative. Growing up as Johnny Carson's daughter was never simple, but it wasn't defined by hatred or abandonment. It was defined by complexity, by the struggles of a man who lived in the public eye and a daughter who sought to live outside it. Her confirmation of the truth may not be the sensational revelation fans expected, but it is far more powerful. It's real, raw, and deeply human. For decades, rumors about Johnny Carson's family life swirled in the tabloids. Some claimed estrangement, others spoke of hidden resentments, and many doubted that his children would ever step forward to clarify what truly happened behind closed doors. Yet now, one of Carson's daughters has finally confirmed the truth, and it's both surprising and deeply human. She revealed that while her father was often emotionally distant, he never stopped caring for his children in his own way. The image the public saw, the witty, sometimes aloof television host, wasn't the same man she experienced at home. He was complicated, guarded, and flawed, but also quietly loving in moments that few ever saw. Her words don't erase the pain of their strained relationship, but they do shine light on a man who, like so many legends, was both larger than life and heartbreakingly human. After years of speculation, the silence is finally broken, and with it comes a more complete picture of Johnny Carson, not as a late-night icon, but as a father whose legacy is far more complex than the world ever realized.